Testando o som. Bom dia para todo mundo. Em instantes nós iniciaremos a nossa mesa. A gente aproveita para avisar e lembrar para as pessoas que quiserem pegar os seus fones, para ter a tradução simultânea, que nós teremos participantes aqui na frente internacionais. Então, para aproveitar, para quem não pegou, pegar o seu fone. Daqui a poucos minutinhos a gente já inicia a nossa mesa, tá bom? Obrigado. Só conferindo com o pessoal da técnica, podemos iniciar então? Tudo bem? Bom, agora formalmente para todo mundo, bom dia. Bem-vindos, bem-vindas. É um grande prazer receber todos e todas aqui. A pedido de todos no Freemind, a gente relembra que tudo que está sendo conversado aqui e apresentado aqui.
Good morning. Everything that is being said here live is also being transmitted on YouTube at our channel, Spirit to Freemind. So it's important that all of you tell to the people to access. There's also translation into English and Spanish, so there's no excuse not to see the channel. So please feel free to do that. It's an honor for me to be here. My name is Hernani. Like all of you, I feel part of the Freemind family now as a moderator, trying to contribute with the Freemind work. So it's a pleasure to be here with you guys this morning. So we're going to talk about prevention at schools, a very important subject. And for this, we're going to invite people that are specialists to be part of this panel and collaborate with information. So initially, I'm going to call to our panel, Fernando Salazar Silva. We can even give him a great round of applause. Fernando, he's a professor at the Peruvian University, Cayetano Heredia. He's a doctor in epidemiology for the University of North Carolina. He has a master's in public health for the University of Alabama, the main associated investigator, for example, in the intervention associated to communication means for parents of high school students at Caramara, Peru, between 2021 and 2022. Also an investigator at the course Prevention Based on Evidence, and participated in the development of the system to monitor and evaluate the program Lions Pass in Argentina, Buenos Aires, between 2017 and 2021. Also, another panelist is Vinicius Mendoza Neiva. A great round of applause for Vinicius. Welcome, Vinicius. He's the executive secretary of the Department of Education of São Paulo State. He has a master's in public administration and economy at the University of Brasilia, and is doing his doctorate at Fundação Getúlio Vargas in São Paulo. He participated in a group of research in the use of strategic management in the joint forces of governments from the University of Indonesia and Texas, Dallas. Also, another panelist, Débora Pereira. Débora is a psychologist. She's a master's in collective health, in policy management and management in health, specializing in health, mental health and clinical psychology, and she coordinates projects in drugs prevention in partnership with Fundação Oswaldo Cruz and the National Secretary that is targeted to the prevention of use of drugs. Now we're going to also call João Paulo Berker Lotufo. Dr. Lotufo. Dr. Lotufo is a representative of the Brazilian Society of Pediatricians in São Paulo and Brazil. He's responsible for the Center to Combat the Use of Drugs by Teenagers and Teenagers and Children. He's member of the Commission of the Fight Against Tabagism in the Brazilian Medical Association, member of the clinical board of the University Hospital, that is a board related to combating legal and illegal drugs. We also will have another participant who's still on the way, so I will call when she arrives, our our other panelist. So I'm a bit picky with time, because we have a lot of content to discuss, but I'm always going to tell you guys when we have 10 minutes. You will left. Each one of you will have 20 minutes. So please, Fernando Salazar Silva, if you could please take the floor and begin and open our panel.
Hola.
Sorry. Chegou a nossa palestrante, eu vou aproveitar. A tropa
Here, our panelist has arrived. Sorry for that. Mozara Azul Spencer. Please, Mozara, come to the stage. Great that you arrived on time. I know she's Deputy Secretary of the Department of Education of Mato Grosso State. She's graduated in pedagogy with masters in technology and management in the area of industry, and specialist in industrial technology and children education. Now, Fernando, you can begin, and sorry for that.
Hello, my dear friends. Dear Hernani, thank you so much for your presentation. And I hope to transmit the idea of this panel, in which I took advantage of talking very early in the morning with Debra and also with Vinicius, just to warm up myself to talk about quality school prevention integrated into the education system. Before talking about this issue that is really important, let's see what are the problems that we are facing to. I need help to change the... Okay. I didn't know where to point out. The problems that we're facing in the school system is the use of psychoactive substance uses among school-age children and adolescents that affects their overall development. Of course, in any society, there is substance use in different dimensions, but all the societies, or most of them, agree that substance use in school children and adolescents is not allowed because the effects of their own health, their personal health, the public health, the social development, the poverty, and the security of the society. So it's a very big problem. If we don't prevent the substance use in adolescents and children, we are going to face a social problem. The other problem in the school system, even when the substance use etiology is already pretty well known, we know that substance use is derived by personal factors influenced by the macro environment factor and the micro-environmental factors, and all of them interact to make a children more vulnerable or not. Also, we know that we can use that etiologic model to point out where to intervene. But even that we know about this since about 20 years ago, most of the intervention in the school system are based in delivering speeches, most of them for untrained people, disconnected of all the school environment, and part of them scary messages. Matek was working yesterday with the policemen. I was really happy that you are doing that thing, because policemen are one of the special groups that are going to the schools and are delivering speeches that are very scary and without no effect. And we have already evidence of that, of the iatrogenic effect of those speeches when they are not part of a school program. So, with this in mind, are we lost or do we have solutions? What do you think? Raise their hands, those that think that we are lost. Raise their hands, those that think that we have solutions. Okay, good, good. Okay, we have solutions. And one of the solutions is in the school system. And I have to thank again Vinicius because I was talking. Because the school system is one of the most important areas for delivering prevention. Because in addition to the family, the school is the second more important place for the socialization. And socialization is the way in which we make prevention. Socialization is the transmission of the principles and values that we agree as a whole society to have the right behavior in all the persons of the society regarding substance use. One of those agreements is that the kids and the adolescents and the young people shouldn't use substances, drugs. And in the school system, we have some areas. Education provides skills, knowledge, and competencies and ensure academic performance. And prevention, on the other hand, provides skills and competencies to avoid or to prevent the progression of substance use. They are pretty similar, but when we see the mission of those two areas of education and prevention, we have just one definition. Education and prevention look for to enhance children and adolescents to teach their full potential and become competent citizens contributing to the social development. What is the definition, the broad definition of prevention? to have all the adolescents and children reaching their full potential to become competent citizens. And that is, if you see the UNESCO, United Nations education area, that is exactly the same definition of education. So we are not talking about two different things. Education and prevention are looking the same thing. Are two visions, are two strategies of two visions with just one mission. So if we go back to a theologic model, what is the school prevention is addressing? The school prevention is addressing the school prevention policy that is directed to the macro environment in the school system. And what is the macro environment in the school system? Is the school community. What is the school community? Are the school children, of course, their parents, the school teachers, the staff of the school, the surrounding community, and some other people that are approaching to the community. So we need an intervention that addresses the needs of that school community. Also, the other area that addresses the school prevention is the positive school culture and climate. Positive school culture and school climate is pretty easy to define. It's what is the feeling that one feels when one crosses the door of the school. You know that. If you crosses the door of the school and you feel safe and you feel included in the school, that is a very good school climate. But when you crosses the school and you see something that is very messy, you know that the school climate in that school is not the best one. So we need to develop also that area. And these two areas, the school policy and the school climate, are the conditions for prevention. Both are the conditions for prevention. So they have to go first. And yes, let's go back to the school system. Can you think about a school in which there are no rules or norms that directs the behavior expected in the school? There is no school without norms. Do you think that a school will be successful conducting the students if the school climate is not the best one? You cannot expect that in that kind of a school. So for prevention and also for the school system, we need to develop the norms and the school culture and climate. The only difference between the school system and the prevention and the school policy and the school climate are exactly directed under the international standard of quality for prevention directed to substance use prevention, are very specific. In the school system, the norms and the school climate are very general. When those two things are in place, we can go into the school prevention curriculum. That is the most popular, maybe the only one in many places in the world in the school intervention. And the school prevention curriculum are the 12 to 15 sessions that are delivered along the school year in sessions about 45 to 60 minutes by trained personnel to develop, let's say, social and emotional skills or skills for life. And also in those sessions are delivered just 2 sessions from those 12 or 15 directed to show the dangers or the risk of alcohol and tobacco use, nothing more. You don't need to teach anything else to make prevention in the school system. And seems to be that that thing that is coming from the prevention science, the school prevention policy, the school positive school and culture climate, and the school prevention curriculum are enough. What is saying the implementation science? The implementation science is saying us that that is not enough. We need to build the structure for prevention, the structure for the sustainability of prevention, that is building the prevention leadership and action teams. What do we mean about the prevention leadership and action teams? It's a special group that is directed for the planning, let's say, beginning, doing the diagnosis, the needs and resources diagnosis, selecting the intervention, planning the intervention, implementing the intervention, monitoring and evaluating the intervention, and then communicating the results to the school community. And this group is composed, is under the leadership of the school principal and has representatives of the school children. They are the most important part of this school prevention, this prevention and leadership and action team. Also representatives of families, of the parents, of community leaders, natural leaders, representatives of governmental organizations and NGOs, and because prevention is not the task of one person, of the principal or of the school teacher. It's a task of many people, but they need to be shaped as a team, not as a group of interested persons. A group is people that are gathering just to talk different things. This prevention and leadership action team has a structure that has a leader. The roles of the prevention and leadership are pretty well designed. They have a plan, they have meetings, they have tools to report the advances and the barriers and facilitators of the intervention. So they are the core of the intervention. The research in this area are showing that when there is not this prevention and leadership and action teams, the sustainability of the intervention is failing sooner than later. So that is the school prevention. So now I'm going to go faster just to show you how to see a school prevention intervention. First, training of the school teachers. School prevention needs to be delivered by the school teachers, not by external actors. So we need to train the school teachers in the areas that we need to build in the school area, let's say the policy, climate, and the school prevention curriculum. After the training, we build the leadership and action teams. That gives the sustainability to the prevention. If you see in the picture, I'm representative of the policeman, of the security around the school, parents, the school teacher, the school children, etc. So all of them must be shaped in the way of a team. After that, I go. Oh, okay. After that, this prevention leadership and action team writes and asks to all the stakeholders about the school prevention policy, because the school prevention policy must be a participatory act, because the school prevention policy must not be a mandatory policy, must be something that the people agree. What is the behavior that one expects of the school? And the school children must agree with that school policy. Also the school teacher, the parents, everybody must give opinion. And that has to be implemented in open ceremonies, put in the school agenda, put in banners in many places, and sustained along the school year. And also, after the school policy, we start with the practices of a school climate. The school climate is the discipline that we expect in the halls of the school along the year in all the areas of the school, in which all the components of the school community are included. I mean parents, school teachers, and of course the students. Wow. Okay. When those two are already in place, then you start with the school prevention curriculum. In Brazil, you had Tamo Junto that is in two phases, was evaluated in two phases. In the first one, didn't have a positive result because the adaptation was not adequate. In the second round of Tamo Junto showed the expected result, positive results. And that is one of the things that you need to deliver through trained school teachers. And the school children do love this kind of school training, of this school prevention curriculum, because they are developing in this school curriculum this social and emotional skills and skills of life and rejection skills and many other skills that they need just to prevent the substance use. All of these things must be monitored and evaluated. And that is the task of the leadership and action team, prevention leadership and action team. And this is one of the things that is the most difficult. I was talking very early in the morning with Deborah. That is one of the things that is needed to guarantee the quality of the intervention, keeping fidelity to the original design of the intervention and the needed adaptation to the local condition. If those things are not handled in the right way, as I told you minutes ago, it's going to fail as a bad adaptation as happened with Tamo Junto in the first round. When that thing was corrected in the second round, we got very good results with Tamo Junto in Brazil. How to guarantee the sustainability? Please, certify the school teacher that conducted this, and especially if the certification is coming from the Ministry of Education especially, because they will use this certification for their professional advancement. It's part of the external motivation that is also needed with the school children. The internal motivation must be gotten at the beginning of the intervention. But these external motivation are also very needed and are part of the things that we have to do just to guarantee the sustainability of the intervention. And finally, this is to show that if you put the area of the school system, the normal rules that guides the life of the school are linked to the school prevention policy. If you see the area of school connivence, you will see that you can link that with the school climate. If you see the school curriculum, education curriculum, you can link that with the school prevention curriculum. Also, mentoring as a very special area of the school curriculum that can be used for prevention. So the link between those are really good. What are the learned lessons? The articulation of daily work of teachers with prevention activities can contribute to their sustainability over time, improve school management, and achieve sustained results in psychoactive substance use prevention and academic results. So prevention, school prevention intervention, not only reaches good results in substance use prevention, but also in academic performance. Okay, I hope I kept my time. Thank you so much.
Obrigado, Fernando.
Thank you, Fernando. Wow, he was right in time. You're seeing that, right? Great, very good. I have a small kickoff speech, and I forgot about it, so I'd like to speak a little bit now, and then soon I will give the floor to the other speakers. And I think it's important as we follow each lecture. If you have questions to ask later, we might not have the time to do that right after their speeches, but we can look for them after each panel, because we had a very interesting panel right now. So please go back to the first one, please. Great. Thank you. I can use this here. It's kind of worked. Okay. All right. So only giving a brief introduction. My name is Hernani. I'm the moderator here today. My contacts are over there if you'd like to reach me later through email or Instagram. So I'm a mathematics teacher. I'm a math teacher. I teach at the application school of the University of Education of the School of Education of the University of São Paulo. I participate in a prevention program, EAPREV. We work in schools. We conduct drug prevention activities. I worked with the people from GREA. It's an interdisciplinary group from the Clinics Hospital at University of São Paulo. They went to the school to train us, and then we continued our training by ourselves. So I'd like to say that preventing, as we already know, means arriving first, getting there first. Prevention also means preventing something from happening. So it's not only to give tools for the person to know how things work, but it's about offering information to people so that they can arrive earlier. So preventing means caring. Preventing is an act of love. So if you are here today, came from different places, and we are here today not doing other things, it means that this is important. So working with prevention is essential. If we worry about our health, other people's health, that's prevention. So that EAPREV, that prevention program, currently it's me, I'm a math teacher. There's a psychologist, Bruna Maia, a phys ed professor, Luciano Colpas, a chemistry professor. We are a team comprised of teachers from different fields of knowledge, and we organize activities that will take place in schools, both in regular classes and in separated projects, both in high schools and middle schools. At the first training we had study groups. We wrote plays, wrote guidebooks, held discussion tables. So we conducted a series of activities, and we continue to do so. In 2003, that partnership with the Hospital das Clínicas ended, and from a project, it became a program. And as Fernando said, it's a group of teachers who are trained and prepared to work with prevention. You know what I mean when I say train. Each year that we learn new things. One time, one time was cigarette, and then narguilé, and then e-cigarette. So we have to update ourselves all the time. As a moderator, I like to say that we must keep alive these Freemind meetings we already had before. We had very important videos in the channel Espírito Freemind that addressed various themes about which many experts are talking. I gave a talk in 2018. I talked about teachers having to address cross-cutting themes. We have to talk about health, drug prevention, and themes that cut all these fields of knowledge. And we will find there other examples of activities. I spoke about the importance of prevention at schools, because we know that our target audience and the main issues are at the school. Next, please. So what I'd like to say to end my speech. So prevention, drug prevention in schools. First, teachers must always be based on evidence. So it's interesting when a project is born from inside out. So you know your audience, and based on them, you design a project that will take place at schools. Second, taking information that is based on reliable sources. Very often, I go to my school, for example, talk about alcohol. No, we don't need. We know everything about alcohol. You don't need to address that. But so taking good information to them, uh, and for them even to replicate that information is very important. Third, keeping a dialogue, constant dialogue and permanent dialogue with healthy debates. So it and one lecture is not enough. It has to be continuous every month, every week. So debates, activities, external guests, posters at school. So we have to always propose that debate in the school. Four, ensure a space of listening and and welcoming them. So we have to listen to them, listen to the information they have to bring, and welcome all of that so that we can keep that dialogue alive. Five, establish bonds between students, teachers, and other participants of the project program. So it's not about only bringing external guests. In the school, we must train all the school staff, all those involved. So there's the website of the APRV program. We have examples of activities, other events. There were moments with Dr. Lotufo. He's a great partner of our School of Application. That's us on the radio and in different moments. And here we have some sources I use a lot. The book Drugs Prevention and Treatment by Daniela Pinotti, and other resources we use and I recommend as well. Next, thank you very much for this opportunity. There's the website Aperfeiçoa Mais with videos and other information both for math teachers and for people who work with drug prevention. Thank you very much. Now let's move on to our next speaker. Thank you very much. Now, Mozara, please, I give the floor to you. A round of applause for her.
Bom
Good morning. What a beautiful morning, right? We're gathered here today discussing such an important theme. My name is Mozara. I'm the Deputy Secretary for Regional Management of Mato Grosso. I will talk about a little bit our state, about our education, to later get into my presentation. Mato Grosso State has 640 schools, an average of 320 students. I'm talking about quilombolas, indigenous, regular school, full-time, military school, civil military schools. So we have a broad spectrum of works to work with these 320,000 students. We created a policy called Education 10 Years. It offers 30 policies within this umbrella policy. Our goal is to, in 10 years, put Mato Grosso among the 5 best states in terms of education. In 2023, we ranked 8th, but our goal is to reach the 5 first ones. So it's not about ranking 5th in terms of number, but also in terms of permanence, decrease dropout, and enable our children and youth to go to school and learn and lead a healthy life. So in these policies, the ones we highlight today is access and permanence so that our adolescent will get to school and remain at school, which is a big challenge for everyone, and also well-being in the school environment. What does that mean? It's a policy that aims at having students liking and feel belonging to that school. In that policy, we highlight family schools. What does that mean? It's a program we started in 2024. It's a small program. We started it in 15 schools and we want to expand it next year. On Saturdays and Sundays, our schools are open. Open to whom? To the families, to the community, to do what? What do they do at school? Workshops, they spend time with their children. Most schools have pools at this moment. So we have swimming classes, soccer classes, workshops for mothers and fathers. Why? So because we want the community to know that the school is part of the community. In many places today, our schools are the most beautiful place in the community. So why remain closed during Sundays and Saturdays? So this project is still small, but next year we want to expand it to reach at least 400 schools. So it's a very nice project that aims to improve that sense of belonging our speaker talked about. So the environment of the school, belonging to the school, the community inside the school, parents' participation, which is very important for learning. So we're focusing on these policies. Of course, we have other 28 policies which are very important: school transportation, food. But today we are focusing on these two, which is because it's the theme of our panel here. So let's move on to our presentation. Please, could you please share the presentation? Another successful case here is the Students' Council. In 2023, we created a Students' Council in each and every school. So today we have Students' Councils, they participate. That helps us a lot because they talk to their peers. And every campaign we conduct that go to these regional directorships and that goes to school, the students council participate. We call all the students. We have this very nice moment. It's a moment of joy. And today, all of our schools have students council. Have students councils. What's so? I'm waiting for the presentation, please. Okay.
Então, gente,
So, you guys, we have our central agency, which is the Secretariat of Education, and 3 regional secretariats, which I call the mini secretariats, because Mato Grosso State, even though we don't have much residents, it's a very large area. So to be able to reach each school, we need these regional secretariats, and they participate a lot, and they are inside the schools on a daily basis. So inside the policy I talked about of access and permanence in schools, we have school mediation. And in that school mediation, is what we're going to address today, which is alcohol and drugs. In last August, we held a campaign which was about lung cancer. And of course, we say that the smoking, and as our speaker has just said, cigarettes has changed, right? We have now e-cigarettes now, and this August we addressed White August, and we used indicators, and we noticed that in our units, next slide please, cigarettes, alcohol, and other drugs are very high rates and in all school units. And we have held campaigns. Here are the students from the Students' Council. So the projects we conduct with teachers, and and we can only see the results of all of that. It's not enough for the secretariat to think about and send the idea to the regional secretariat if the teachers are not working with us. So we really try to talk to each teacher. To We have many coordinators and other school staff. We talk to them all the time and try to convince them and to show them the importance of that. Because our biggest challenge today is to get into the classroom. Other campaigns we held. And then we have a differential that the professionals have 10 hours to address conflicts specifically in the school environment. What's that? They study that for 10 hours. So these 110 professionals, it's still not enough. Of course, I know that we are working to expand so that each and every professional studied that topic. And the cherry on the top here is that in 2024, we implemented 180 psychosocial teams inside schools, in 180 schools. We have been working. Now we have psychologists, social workers, and an education expert. So in 180 schools in Mato Grosso State, they count with this multi-professional team. But since we don't have only 180 schools, we have 647. For 2025, we will have moving, touring teams so that we can cater to 100% of our schools with that psychosocial team of professionals. In this school mediation, we have conducted several campaigns. So each month, each schools know which campaign they will work on together with the school team and the students' council. So that's it, everyone. We are still developing a lot of things. We have much to work on. The state has many initiatives, and we must increase the number of schools we cater to. And we are working to convince students, youth, not to smoke, not to use drugs. So as the first speaker said, we have to work with the community, work with teachers, so that we are with students as well, so that we are able to end all of that. We have just changed 31 school units into civic military. And what's the difference between military and civic military? So military, the director is a military person. In the civic military schools, the director is a civil. But we have the military to support in the discipline of students at school. We know that our youth today, they will find a way to do something. So we believe that with the civil military management, we will help with the discipline issue, especially in the big ones. That's it. Thank you very much.
A gente agradece, Mozara, pela...
Thank you, Mozara, for your presentation. And now we will give the floor to Vinicius Mendonça Neiva. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation. I'll try to be in time. I will listen to you, Mozara. Sometimes I don't know if I envy you or if I get frightened with the number of schools we have in this state of São Paulo. We have over 5,000 schools, over 3 million students, 250,000 professionals in spread out in more than 600 towns and cities. So it's a huge network. So sometimes to keep track of public policies in such huge network can be hard. because we're addressing this topic, let's look at the root cause. So I was investigating in the portal Cielo, and I selected 5 drivers that lead to early consumption. First, influence by peers. And why did I bring these 5 drivers? Because to show that the actions that the Department of Education of São Paulo State targets the root causes that impact this consumption. We have great partnership with our Vice Governor office, and we are acting very closely with the Office of the Vice Governor to attack each one of these root causes. So the first one is influence by peers. So there's this entire behavioral bias, and we all, of the students, so do we as social actors. What is the feeling that we need to have? What is the feeling we usually have? If our friends do it, why won't we do it too? So to mitigate this social pressure, bringing the clubs within the schools to say that not using drugs is cool. Using drugs is not cool. So it's not because you use drugs that you're cool. No, the opposite. It's a minority that use drugs. So we have to reframe this. It's a cognitive bias that we have to reframe. So by using the drug puts you in a minority, not a majority. So that's the first point, and we're trying to work this with school clubs. Second thing, the family context. We're not going to solve the several problems in school. Of course, the school is a very important factor, but alone, school cannot solve all the problems that needs to be solved. I would say it is one of the absorptions of the one of the several ways of tackling so many social problems. But we cannot actually solve hunger. We can act intersectorially to help. But when we look at the family context, how do we bring the families to make them also be aware? By using the parent and teacher associations to make them involved, so that they can also discuss this. So family being brought into school. Second point. So third point, psychological and emotional troubles. And here we have to remember that what we learn and how we learn is completely different how this generation learns. Ayrton Senna never had any contact with mobiles, for example. When we talk about anxious generations, we have to think of the effects of social networks, mobiles, how this generation consumes information. Everyone consuming information in a way that it has changed dramatically. So how should we act intensely to develop social emotional skills so that the youth is safe enough not to succumb to social pressure? So we are then working social emotional sets of skills, introducing it transversely in some school subjects. We're trying to develop our own material to include within the curriculum, especially in the early years of school, so that you can develop this social emotional skills. So this has to be done transversely, because we have a challenge also we have to share with you. Schools, if you go to high school, you have 3,000 hours of basic education you have to provide to these youth. So 3 years, 3,000 hours in 3 years. So you have to work it transversely. As he said, Hernani put, otherwise you won't be able to give this. The demand to place and fit into the curriculum is complicated because 2,400 are blocked, so you only have 600. How can you develop all these skills in only 600 hours? It's very complex, so you have to work transversely. Fourth driver, social demographic factors that you need to identify, how you can act in each specific group, so the region where this youth lives, and gender issues, and the lack of the student going to school, the absence of the student in school. That's a very important problem also. Each student on average chooses one day not to go to school. That's an average in São Paulo state school system. Of 100 out of 100 students, 21 students would not go to school per day. And why? And where is the student? If the father and mother are not watching, nor the school, where is the student? So we decided to our active search. We changed the procedure for active search of these students. Now we are at 85% of attendance. So this has changed, fortunately. So active search of this attendance, and we're introducing another set of skills such as vocational training to attract the youth to school. If you add these to the curriculum, because why should I know the cycle of this specific plant? If I go into ChatGPT will tell me. How can you create, develop, and bring interesting content to this young person, to incentivize, to encourage this child, this adolescent, to be in the classroom? And fifth driver, early exposure. So how can we avoid, and before the age of 13, a child being in contact with this? So what are we doing in this sense is that we have a program called Conviva program of the state of São Paulo. And what can we do in this sense? In the state of São Paulo, we have a program of co-living at schools to help avoid violence at school. That's the first and main point, but it has other responsibilities, such as, which is a healthy way of living school. So taking care of all the part of security, safety, in joint with the public security department of the state of São Paulo, with the rounds and inspecting, monitoring all our schools, all our state schools. And we have over 2,000 professionals that are, which you call the teacher advisor, teacher/advisor. Who is the teacher which be the mediator to align the student, the school, and the entire ecosystem. And this program absorbs these skills from other responsibility areas, which includes the reduction in the consumption of use that is associated to the office of our vice governor. So this mediator coordinates all these actions. It's a very integrated program. So this teachers-led mediator is responsible in this sense. We select these teachers. The teachers are trained, and we have 5 models in the initial training, and one of the models is prevention against the use of drugs. So each one of the schools, whether full-time school or not, or semi-full-time, we all have professionals in this sense. We started with 10 hours Mozara, and we saw that this was not effective in the state of São Paulo, so we're increasing these hours. And the number of hours is proportionate to the size of the school and the number of students in such school. So if it's a very big school in this sense, it's 20 hours, but that's the maximum. Another action, bring the school associations, the school clubs of youth, so that the students can act as facilitators of conversation. Because sometimes a student does not want to talk to an adult, does not want to talk to a teacher. Sometimes a student wants to talk to another student. because there's a resonance, there's an identification. So social pressure can be positive also, not only negative, because this other student can be the vector to welcome, to nurture, and to listen to the student that might consume drug. So we are really working with the school clubs of adolescents to mobilize them in this sense of the program to reduce the use of drugs. Another thing we're doing within these actions, co-living actions. What is this? Well, so there's the training of teachers. So today we have continued training for all these professionals. There's an early model, this initial training with 5 models where we work self-esteem, mental health, social-emotional skill development. All professionals go through these 5 modules. And then after these 5 modules, we start working this entire program of culture of parents, which is the set of agreements of what you can do and what you cannot do at school. That's why we need to bring the family, because it makes no sense to reach an agreement and then the parent will break the agreement, not the child. So we need the parent in this sense. So what we're working here is a set of impacts in this program that we see that maybe that's an investment, the most cheap and the most effective investment we have to develop the co-living and prevention of substance use. Because if you have a dedicated professional to know each one of the students, integrate the entire system, which is not easy to integrate, inspectors, the adolescents clubs, military police doing the rounds, parents, teachers, several actors. How can we integrate all these actors? Get this program, an initiative that respects the characteristic of a such school, designs a public policy and an intervention plan, and says this school will work. Because sometimes you design a plan that might not work for another school that is very close to the school where the plan worked, because each school is different. Each school has a different staff, a different different group of students. So you need to adapt, and that is the professional that will help adapt, the mediator slash advisor slash teacher. So we also have another point that is very important to mention. Who takes care of this mediator teacher? Who will take care of this person? Because being a teacher is very stressful. As I told you, it's a shield, it's a social shield. So sometimes it's the teacher that will suffer some type of aggression. So now we're launching a mental health program for teachers with tele-attendance, with psychiatrists, where teachers can be served in the sense, so they can be listened, so that they can feel that they're being taken care of. So if the teacher is not well, then he will not be able to take care of the other. So that's why our professionals need to be well within themselves, and we need people that are energized in this sense. So we're doing this entire impact of engaging, and we have results as I showed you with, for example, the engagement of clubs. São Paulo had a very low rate of enrollments in ENEM. But by working with the school clubs of adolescents, this enrollment increased at the ENEM. ENEM is the final exam of high school students to evaluate a high school. And so we need a network of students to support this, sustain this policy. So what we understand is, with all this, is that regarding the partnerships, for example, it's such a complex problem that school cannot afford to do it by itself. It needs a set of actors that act in synergy. And this is where the details are, because everyone has a magical program, a magical formula to show you. How can you then focus on the goal? And I might have an amazing idea, but the problem with this idea might be, how can I get this idea be adapted to the several actors? It's not one actor, it's not two people. We're talking about 4, 5, 6 actors with different interests, different contexts, different needs. So we're not going to solve this alone. But we need to be humble to understand that we have to negotiate and see what in fact is important. Sometimes we're discussing how and not what. So that's the point of alert that I want to give you here. And we have these partnerships to develop these new programs. And finally, this design of public policies. Professor Fernando mentioned this need to adapt each public policy to each school. That's the difficulty. And there's not a one-size-fits-all solution. We do not have that.
Each reality is different. If you get a school in Capão Redondo neighborhood, it's a different reality. In Sapopemba is different. Barretos is different, and different from Rio Claro, which is different from the capital city. So we must understand that environment and see how you, within this challenge, you cannot do one policy for each one, but for each one school, but maybe you have one policy that can be adapted to each context. We have 330, 3,300 students, 1 million in high school, 2 million, 3 million, 2 million in primary school. So that's the secret. I'm only sharing this with you briefly. Thank you for the invitation. Have a great day. Thank you very much, Vinicius. Before moving on to the next speaker, I'd like to share with you the initiative of teacher Luis Farias in the School of Application to map out who are our students at that moment. Mapping out means uh, conducting a survey among the students, and anonymously they fill out that form, that survey, and we make graphs with that, and then we can study and discuss with them who has tasted alcohol before they were 11 in different age groups, and then talk about marijuana, cigarette. If there are people in their families who use these drugs frequently or regularly. So it's important to map this out at least once a year. As Vinicius said, each school has a different reality, a different audience, a private, public school. And it's important to know who is our audience in order to work with prevention. That's fundamental. So it's important to think about that as well. Thank you very much, Vinicius. Now I'm going to give the floor to Débora Pereira. Well, good morning to you all. Thank you very much for being invited to be here. It's very nice to talk, to hear all these experiences, these promising experiences here. So I'm going to talk about from the place I'm my position today. I work in a project which is a partnership between Osvaldo Cruz organization and SENAG, which is the National Secretariat on Drug Policies. So we are implementing some policies here. We will start with 30 municipalities, but the idea is to expand. I'm going to talk about two school methodologies we are working on. I believe you know them already. But the idea is to talk about this challenge faced by the national government to propose strategies to be implemented in schools. And how are we doing this, and how is important to think about these different contexts that were addressed here. How the federal government can have the school with one unique environment, with a unique audience to absorb or not that methodology, if they are ready or not to absorb that methodology. Well, first, I'd like to to give a previous background of these methodologies I'm addressing today. So for 10 years here in Brazil, I'd like to tell this story for those who don't know. In 2023, SENAD went back to investing on prevention programs at the national federal level. And three axes, three lines guided that. One is to always work based on evidence, based on prevention science. We have many studies that can guide us on what works or does not work, and how to address what does not work. Another aspect Fernando mentioned is monitoring, which is a huge challenge, because the teacher who's implementing, the school director, the health professional, they must understand the importance of monitoring what we are doing. We must know through data whether we are being effective or not, whether we are having quality or not in implementation. So that's a huge challenge we are addressing, we are working on with experts, and in this beginning of that work. We have another axis, which is social participation. For us, it's very important to hear the territory, hear the community. So we have included moments with the community to listen how that implementation is working, always in the first year of implementation, because listening to the community, to the territory, helps us to improve the quality of what we are delivering. And we also have three guiding principles that guide all prevention actions in SENAT, which is the promotion of equality. So given the social inequalities of our countries, so we know, so the promotion of equality, regarding social equality, and that promotion of the sense of belonging, as Fernando mentioned, which is the idea of the individual feeling that he or her, she or him, they matter in that community. Next slide, please. So these methodologies, they are within the CREA program. The Secretary Marta Machado presented that program. It was launched in June of this year. So the idea is for it to be a national strategy to prevent negative outcomes and to prevent criminality and violence in schools. And the goal is to empower individuals and communities, contributing to a more egalitarian society. We have these three axes. In our stall, we have a supporting documentation there. So it's protection for child and youth, territory prevention, and in the community. So these three methodologies are in the first axis, prevention for children and adolescents. So these are cross-cutting lines. They are, so we're talking here, I mentioned monitoring again. We will create a scientific committee. It's a partnership between SENAD and the UN Office for Drugs and Other Crimes. We have a public notice open until November 8th. So the idea is to have researchers from the entire country. So we want a diversity of people working in the country, helping us to make good decisions regarding prevention and the actions conducted by SENAD. So it's a very important consultant committee, advisory committee, and we want to be it very much Brazilian, because we wanted to have the face of Brazil. So we will also launch a digital platform, which is PIPA platform, launched in November as well, bringing together a large number of information in this platform. So where we are in Brazil, which strategies, materials, and courses are available in the country. So it will be launched in mid-November. And it's also a partnership between Senage and Union Decision. So as I said before, we have this background of all these methodologies, Tamo Junto and Elos, and also strong families, Famílias Fortes, since 2013. So we have been working with the UN Office on Drugs and Crimes. So we have had these methodologies. We had a moment in which they had to be translated into our reality and adaptation into our reality. So we went to the territory, implemented it, adapted them, and the federal government has always had partnerships with university. So that entire process of implementation, Fernando brought some negative results of this research here, and these research helped us improve methodologies. So that process happened until 2017, when we were thinking about scaling it up to the national level. And in 2018, the dissemination was suspended, so management administration changed, and in 2023, Senage resumed the implementation of these methodologies. So I'm going to talk about these two school methodologies, which is Elos Construindo Coletivo. It's a Brazilian adapted from Good Behavior Game, and hashtag Tamo Junto is an adaptation of Unplugged, and Famílias Fortes, which is a Brazilian adaptation of Strengthening Families. And Famílias Fortes, it's a family prevention program. So we work with families. So I'm not going to talk about this program, but we know that today many schools work with this program, even in São Paulo, and it's a very, very interesting possibility, working with family inside the schools. And I'd like to tell you that this process in 2024, we were faced with 10 years of research of these methodologies in the country, so many, many studies. We had many international studies, but now we have a national evidence as well. So we made the decision of actually to update these three methodologies based on the most recent research produced, understanding all the background and talking to people, the issue of social participation. So talking to those who implemented that methodology in the classroom, in management, and trying to see how those people understood what worked best, what didn't work, points for improvement. So we proposed a third edition of these three methodology to begin in 2025. 2024 was a moment of intense internal work in which we updated methodology, and now we are expanding. We want to expanding partnerships. So we are talking to many representatives of states and cities to get to the territories with these methodologies. So that's it. And lastly, in this adaptation process, we updated the visual identity of these methodologies as well. We saw that we needed to improve their visual identities, considering the beautiful diversity we have in our country and our culture as well. And concerning this update, just to give more details, we were talking about 10-year-old materials. We're talking about DVDs, and now there was no mobile phones. So we use words we don't use anymore. So, let's use the DVD. So no, we had to adapt the language as well, because 10 years is a lot of change and evolution, right? So I'm going to talk about that strategy, which is Elos Construindo Coletivos. It's a strategy, it's a mediation strategy of social relationships inside the classroom that contributes for a more harmonious and collaborative relationship between students and teachers. So it's about collective work and offers the evolution of emotional and cognitive aspects for among children. Next. So the ELUS game, which is a very nice nickname for this methodology. So they are aimed at children's age from 6 to 10 years old. So it's a playful strategy of mediating relationships in the classroom. It's implemented by the teacher of that school, of that classroom, I'm sorry. So we don't even mention drugs at that age because it's very important when we make choices of which methodology to adopt or to implement or to propose. We must understand, as Vinicius said, we must understand what's our audience and consider the age group. So for that age group, we do not mention the word drugs. We do not talk about drugs. How do we prevent with this group? We talk about risk and prevention factors. So we understand which are the behaviors or the factors that are associated to a future consumption, which can contribute to a future drug consumption, which are the risk factors, and which are the protection factors. So we strengthen these protection factors and we reduce risk factors. So that strategy, it promotes belonging, strengthen bonds with the school, and teachers receive information and help continuously. I will tell you how it works. So the teacher, it divides the group in small groups, and these groups are heterogeneous regarding various characteristics. So sex, gender, development level, stages. I forgot the word now. The issue of skills, behaviors they students present. Is it more a shy child? Is it more is the person are they more aggressive? So we create heterogeneous groups, and the teacher chooses a school an activity he would normally give to that group, and know that, and he knows the children can do that by themselves, and he proposes we're going to play the Alice game, and he does some say what voice level I can use. If it's an activity I need concentration, I need focus, I cannot have noise in the classroom because it will disturb. So let's try to whisper only. So it's an activity that will be in the court. So it's a movement activity, and I want to the person who is in the other side of the court to hear me. So I can speak louder so that I can be heard. So students will think about the many things he will need. So they talk about what they're going to do, and which uh, will support their behavior, and they can have an idea of how their behavior in the classroom can help or disturb the activity. So, and there's the kindness. You have to be kind to people, and we work with cooperation. So the teacher starts the game, and that heterogeneous group, it has to self-regulate themselves to conduct that activity. So if I have doubt, I will not talk to the teacher. I will ask among my students. And if I'm not complying with the agreements, my group will help me and give me a feedback. So no, you're speaking too loud. So let's keep the agreements. And how the game works: if you break over 5 rules, you cannot win the game. If you break less than 5 rules, it's okay. You can win the game, and every team can win. It's not a competitive game, it's a cooperative game. So all teams can win, and they all celebrate the victory of everyone. So there's this moment of celebration. And they choose together, how are we going to celebrate? And we all complied with the agreements. So sometimes they sing a song, or they clap their hands, or they sing, and then things that make children feel feel good in that school environment. And based on that, when I'm with my group and I need to regulate myself so that the activity will work, I see which are my skills, which are my characteristics, how can I help my group, what are my difficulties, and then I recognize among my colleagues skills I don't know they have, because they are responsible for helping one another to win the game and have that final moment of celebration. I'll try to be fast because I'm running out of time. So that's inspired in the good behavior game, which was created in 1979, and it has meaningful results regarding prevention in the use of drugs. And it was created by a teacher whose goal was to facilitate learning processes, focusing on decreasing aggressiveness and etc. And only later they saw, it was noticed that that game was important for and had good results in prevention of drugs. So I thought that's a very information, but very important information to bring. So we work with two components: the school component and the family component and community components. This is a Brazilian creation. That other second component is when we bring the families to the school. And it's very important to highlight that the intersectorial aspect is very important. The school cannot be alone. Teachers cannot be alone to execute everything. So we have a team in the territory that offers support, that offers training, and a team that calls the attention of the territory to execute that component together with the school. And the idea is to strengthen what was done in the classroom in the family environment. Next, we have various pieces of evidence about that. So they are aligned with the national evidence, are aligned with international evidence. We do not have studies throughout time, but we have had improvement in responses regarding autonomy, respect, mutual help, and teachers have better classroom management and improvement in terms of aggressiveness and other risk factors.
So now we're working Tamo Junto in its third edition. It's a program for 13 to 14-year-olds in Brazil. Hashtag Tamo Junto, as Fernando mentioned, it happens in school. And there's a teacher of a specific class that gives 12 top themed classes and 3 workshops with those responsible. The methodology, in fact, emphasizes the interactive nature of the program to problematize real problems and real situations that the students live. And we work with critical beliefs and critical thinking about the use of psychoactive substances. So we start working with drugs in this age, but not being very careful not to bring topics and words and contexts that are not still related to the universe and their issues that they have with consumption. Have they consumed cannabis? So we tap in researches to see how we can address this topic with this age range and promote a healthier life for these adolescents. So this program also has a family and school component. These are the skills worked in this program: critical thinking, problem solving, self-perception, decision-making, assertiveness, empathy, interpersonal skills. And we have evidence, important evidence, regarding bullying. So Tamo Junto has reduced the probability of adolescents being victim of bullying. It had a very positive impact in the reduction of bullying on the victim and on the aggressor side, and it is possible of reducing the chances of adolescents in this age initiating the use of alcohol by 28%. We had a randomized, a controlled study with intervention, and that's how we achieved this result. And I know that I ran out of time, but I would like to say that for those who know the methodologies, we would go with our federal team and staff and canvas the territory, but now we've decided to actually develop the staff, the team in the territory itself with a global training where we talk about policy on drugs, evidence-based prevention. We provide workshops in the territory to listen and to get to know the local reality, to all this to reach the actual methodologies in the territory. And our main challenge and our desire is local sustainability. Find people in the territory that have this desire of working with prevention and investing in these people to continue in the face of a possible interruption of this by the federal government, because these things can happen. This is the last slide. As I told you, we have challenges, perspectives. Local sustainability is very important to us. We want the territory to continue implementing it to other people, and we want people in all states of Brazil well informed, well trained, and build a national community so that we can increasingly have Brazilian proposals, more Brazilian, more to do with us in our country. And for that we need to provide the training, the vocational training, consider the realities of school context. That is so good that my colleagues already talked about this, so I won't have to talk about it since I'm running late. Social and intersectorial participation is very important. We have to work among sectors. We see expansion of offers. Today I talked about 2 methodologies. We want to expand the methodologies. This national secretary talked about this yesterday with you guys, and special attention to inequality contexts. Because our population, the population we work with, is so diverse, we have indigenous schools, quilombola schools. We work with these diversities, and what can we offer that is in fact effective and makes sense to these people? I'm sorry that I'm running late, but anyway, thank you so much. Thank you, Deborah. Now, we have agreed that we will be late because we did not start at 8, right? So we have this possibility. We are asking you guys, since we have so many representatives of so many spheres, whether state, federal, we please ask you and the world, how important is it that you continue to really consider the life and the talk of teachers of the entire country? It's so good to listen to you guys saying that you really listened to the people in front of this. The life of a teacher is not easy. It's full of challenges. Not only in the classroom, but in the building, in the construction of a curriculum. So listening to these protagonists, these actors, to build and design this, please continue doing that. This makes us very happy, because we are seen not only as important people, but as the people that are dealing with the students on a day-to-day basis. Now, please, Dr. Lutufo, the floor is yours. I came before because it's 15 seconds from there to here. So I'm already saving some time. I'm a pediatrician, a pneumologist. I worked a lot with tobacco issues. And because you're tired, I'm only going to show you very quickly. If I have a cigarette and I'm smoking and it's in my pocket, I will not stop smoking. But if I get a cigarette, put it here, that's for your son, okay? and I compress the cigarette, blow it, it will disappear, right? So this is the fact. That's what we have to do. Okay. Next. Now we will begin with difficulties with the slide. But here, as you can see, I work at the Universitary Hospital of the University of São Paulo at the ER, and at the outpatient unit. Here you have the parent dissolved an ecstasy pill in a mineral water bottle for his child to consume during the week, and the teacher of the aunt was crying. So the child convulsed for 4 hours because she had to drink this ecstasy with bottles. A 15-year-old baby had a cardiac arrest, with a high level of cocaine in the urine at 15 days of life and died. So I'm showing you that drug is very close to to the pediatrics area. And I'm showing you in Brazil, 150,000 people per year in Brazil due to cigarettes, and 100,000 due to alcohol. So in general, 250,000 per year. And if we add to this cannabis, we will reach 400,000 deaths per year in Brazil. So the deaths due to use of substances is pretty close in numbers to the death by COVID in Brazil when the crisis happened. Here I'm showing you 300 cases of dengue for 100,000 inhabitants is an epidemic. Alcohol, tobacco, cannabis, etc. If I have 100,000 adolescents to the age of 17, 25 experiments tobacco, 20,000 cannabis, 60,000 alcohol. The blue thing on top and the purple thing on top are the users that are daily users. They are drug addicts. So I have 20% of drug addiction. So in 100,000 students, I have 100,000 tobacco smokers, 1,000 crack users, and 12,000 alcoholists. This is 300 to 100,000 inhabitants. What's the name of the insect that transmits dengue? Everyone knows. What is the campaign at a national level done to prevent the use of drugs? The drug is very close to us. And if you start using drugs before your brain is developed, the chance of dependency is greater, of addiction is greater. If you start using drugs with 12, at 14, look at the level of your addiction. If you start using at 21, look at the level of addiction, which is the column to the right. So we have e-cigarettes. E-cigarettes, we are the 4th generation of e-cigarette. And what we see is that e-cigarette was launched with the idea of decreasing risks from tobacco, from cigarettes, but it did not work. Propaganda in the US was made in such a way that it was done through high schools. They sponsored industries. They sponsored summer camps of American adolescents. Summer camps there is like our carnival. Everyone goes to them. So there were several of intoxication due to cigarettes, because e-cigarette has much more nicotine than the regular cigarette. And people started to die, started to have to be admitted to hospital. By December 2019, we had 67 deaths of adolescents and 1 case of lung transplantation. Why by 2019? December 2019, because of COVID and the inflammatory disease caused by e-cigarette was mingled with the COVID inflammatory disease. And here we can see that this is a great problem. E-cigarette and cannabis work together. And here we have children that had the increased level of asthma in their first 16 months of life. Well, here's the story, guys. If the grandparents use tobacco, regardless of the mother smoking or not, their grandchildren will have greater chances of having respiratory problems when they're born. Why? Look at what the studies are reaching. If the grandparents smoked, regardless of the mother smoking or not, the grandchildren might have greater chances of having respiratory problems because the transformation of the egg of the grandmother that reached the mother that reached the grandchildren. I went to do a cannabis workshop at a specific congress, and what happened in Rio, in Búzios, Búzios was excellent for a cannabis workshop because you have the theoretical and the practical part at the beach. And this guy here is I really like this study. It's old, but I really like studying because it's to do with our schools. The first square abandonment of school of 16-year-olds who never used cannabis in New Zealand, 14% abandoned school. Those that did the use more than 100 times, 80% abandoned school. This is our reality today. When you go to college, who never used cannabis, 40% went to college. The ones that used cannabis more than 100 times went to college. Only 11% went to college. And those that succeeded at college were the ones that did not use cannabis, 40%. And those that used more than 100 times, only 8%. Because cannabis harms your brain. The oil of cannabis put in e-cigarette can harm your brain. And by harming your brain, this cerebral harm is irreversible. Irreversible. There's no way of going back. And what we see here, ask a youth, what is the city where cannabis can be used freely? Everyone says Amsterdam. Amsterdam in the 70s, not today. Today there are rules. If you go to the bus stop of Amsterdam, you read, it is forbidden to smoke. You see zones that are alcohol-free zones. If you see the advertisements spread throughout Amsterdam, 148 euros of fine, 180 euros of fine if you use cannabis on a public space. 180 euros if you drink alcohol in a public space. There are rules. We don't have rules. Our specialists should work based on that. If you go to Avenida Paulista, you have alcohol being sold out on the open to any age. Same thing with football matches. And no one acts according to the law. Next one. What we see here, well, today we talk a lot about anxiety disorders, autism, intellectual problems. We know that children of mothers that use drugs have more anxiety disorders, greater chances of autism, greater chances of intellectual deficits. And I can tell you that 20% of the mothers that will have children at the hospital of universities use drugs. At least they confess. Anesthesists, they are impressed with the number of drug users when they ask to the patient at the surgery table if they use drugs. At that position, naked, being open, you will tell anything. Next. This work is very important. Alcohol. If you drink a lot, your cerebral cortex will reduce by 2 to 4 millimeters. So alcohol also harms the brain. And this decrease of the brain, of the cerebral cortex, leaves 7 months to go back to normal after you drink without stopping. So imagine the brain of an adolescent that does binge drinking every weekend. So here we can see something that's happening in the country, which is the fetal alcoholic syndrome, which are if the cerebral brain of the youth is reduced by 2 to 4 millimeters. Imagine the brain of a child that is still under formation. So doctors will say you cannot drink, you cannot smoke, but how will I do that if I'm a drug addict? So we need more effective alcohol. I talked about syndrome of withdrawal at nurseries. In Brazil, opioids is the great problem. For us, cocaine, alcohol, cannabis, and this increases the time a recent born has to stay admitted in hospital. She can't breastfeed properly, for example. 24% of families at the outpatient pediatric clinic, 27% of families had cannabis in their homes, 24% alcohol in their homes, and crack 11%. That's a very high level. So we thought of something that you don't need studies to make, because medical literature already shows that short counseling is very efficient. What is short counseling? 2 to 5 minutes of my practice with my students or with my children, talking something about drugs. And here a project that we developed, sponsored by the University of São Paulo, and it's still a sponsored something because it's bankrupt now. The brochure, the notebook of the teacher. 64 classes of the middle school curriculum, talking about topics and related to the use and prevention of drugs. And we showed this to the Department of Education of the state of São Paulo, and they did not accept this program. Now my honor to the head today, and he working our brochure on e-signature with the schools of the school where he works. Next.
Here, a letter from a mother to a math teacher saying that he wanted to get to know Dr. Bartô. I'm known as Dr. Bartô. I went to a congress in Goiânia. I got there, and João Paulo Lotufo, they didn't have a badge for me. And they said, no, ask for Dr. Bartô, look for Dr. Bartô. And there was my badge under Dr. Bartô. So, and that's where I met the boy here. Since 9 years old, he has been going to our clinic. Each time he goes, he receives a booklet on drug prevention about a certain topic. And I noticed that these booklets started to disappear from there. And he used to get a bunch of booklets, and he took to his school to distribute among his friends. And he wanted to meet me. Now he is 15 years old. The project started when he was 9. And at 15 years old, he met me, and I gave him the 12-step book. For him, it was a very important moment. That's to show how things work. An invitation in a school of São Paulo, talk to students, parents. I'm not going, because I'm not going to talk to the parents. First of all, because it's not very productive. Secondly, because there will be like 20 people at the most. Third, I'm going to leave my family on a Saturday morning, but they insisted so much, and I went. And I got at their school, look at the attendance, how many parents and teachers were there, because there was a director who truly liked the project. When you have someone who truly implements the project, that's what happens. Next, I showed in the school an amputation due to, I went to that school. What happened? The director, the school, because everybody's cried when I showed the amputation, and everybody was together, and they called me, and someone told the director that I made the children cry, and I was not used to going to the director's office anymore. And then, but I showed them the program they had in the schools, and if it's nice, bring me some people without legs, and then I repented doing that. But do you think Natalia didn't understand, the girl who cried, what I didn't understand what I was showing? We showed next. We showed an old lady was dependent on oxygen, and there was, you see, smoking is the same thing as running, holding hand in hand with this, but who smokers can't even run. So that was a poster students made after a lecture of mine. Then I went to a municipality in Santa Cruz do Rio Pardo. There's a mayor who sponsored the project, 16 hours of teaching for teachers so they could understood the short counseling project. We has to be continuous. 2 days after, when I came back, I began to receive WhatsApp messages saying, so please start. We began in many places doing the short counseling. So we plant a seed and things work out. Next, here's in Pompeii. This man who's talking in the first square up there is the richest man in the town. He owns a tractor industry, and he wants to make the city of Pompeii the best city to work, to live in, actually, to live in São Paulo state. It's a small town. And one of the issues is the issue of drugs. So I'm here doing the same training for 190 teachers, sponsored by this man's social organization, and we are going back there in February to give another lecture and help him with that work. Next. Here we are in Santarém, Pará State, the north of Brazil. So I pay a tribute to Sergeant Glauber here, my colleague, my partner, who took me there to Santarém not to conduct the project there, but to add to what he is already doing. Everybody has a project here. Everybody does something here. And when you want to open a door, that door is shut because always someone is doing something. We're not competing with anyone. We are adding, we are contributing to this project. Last school, as an example, this is Erechim, Rio Grande do Sul state. My friend here, she's a physical therapist who began to contribute with the project when we went there 7, 8 years ago. And she's taking her experience to the Pediatrics International Congress in Greece. So we plant the seed, and when we have special people in the place, the things make progress. I will not say things made progress in everywhere I went, but 50% of places the project continues. Here is Lajeado. I sent 12,000 books by Dr. Bartô, which are these boxes there, and 3 days before they asked me, don't come because the city is flooded, and we lost 12 book boxes that were to be distributed by the local education secretariat. But we will be back there in 1 month, and we will take everything back. It's a huge cost. Each booklet costs 1 to 2 reais, and everything was lost. But we'll go back there, and we'll do what we have to do. Next. Here's to show the importance of these booklets for children. They collect these booklets. It's important to have the image of Dr. Bartô. So it's more important than me as a pediatrician. So it's stronger than myself. And we created this book since Alcoholics Anonymous have the 12 steps to be far from alcohol. I built the 12 steps for children not to enter, to start using drugs. And we distribute that to the families. Next, this is United Family with Limits, dialoguing with family, dining, having meals together. When I said that, my wife said, you don't eat at home, you are late for dinner, are you talking about united meals? But we use the weekends, we profit the weekends and the pizza moment, and everybody likes that family moment. Recognizing what children do at their free time, supervising children's homework. Say you are proud of your children. A mother said in the in the my office, and they say she's an angel, but that kid is horrible, and the kid starts feeling bad, and we have to lift up their good characteristics. Encourage sports and cultural activities. This is from Iceland, actually, and we are replicating here. Involvement in social activities. We must teach our young people that we have much to do to improve the planet. Spirituality. This was discussed yesterday, of course, and spirituality is a very strong protective factor. Encouraging friendships and not smoking and not drinking, not too much. If the family doesn't drink, 2% of drug prevalence among their children. If the family smokes, I'm talking about legal drugs or illicit drugs or illegal drugs. If the family smokes, 55% that the child will smoke. So in the medical field, my role is to help pediatricians treat smoking parents, because that decreases from 58 to 2% the chances of their children smoking. This is the same for alcohol, and it's all published in medical journals. If you drink at home, 25% of prevalence of among your children. So it's a huge difference. We must work with the families. So here's the website of Dr. Bartô. If you get the website, you have here schools and health professionals. Click there, please. Next, you have, go back, please. We have here schools and health professionals. If you click there, you will find the booklets, and also in 60 films that last 2 to 3 minutes about drug prevention, which many schools are playing those videos every Friday morning before math class, for instance, 2 minutes. They discuss the video during 2 to 3 minutes, and your short counseling is done. If that's too repetitive, medical literature shows that that's efficient. If you do that on a regular basis, that has been proven. So let's not talk about proving what has already been proven. So here we have a clinic to help parents stop to smoke. And so it's a clinic for everyone who wants to stop smoking. And we had the epidemics of the COVID, and we could not meet and together, and we started to help them through WhatsApp, and that worked as well as the on-site meeting. So it's a very important strategy, and we published that in the Latiga Congress. If you click in each place, in each item, you will see the book or the film that was shown, and etc. So it's a very, very interesting material. Next, only to finish, to wrap up, we distributed in 2013, we had a pilot project, and we distributed a keychain written, don't smoke, don't drink, with a ruler saying you can have fun without abusing. In 2024, a nurse of the hospital asked me, do you still have that keychain? Which keychain? The one you distributed in 2013 at the schools when you did the pilot project. Why do you want that? Because my daughter, at that time, she was 9, and she keeps that keychain until today, and it's broken now, and she cried the entire day because of that. So for you to see, one small keychain, one tiny message for that little girl persisted over 10 years, the message it carries. So we can do cheap things, make cheap things, and they work. Here, that's me. I'm going to pay a tribute. I think everyone knows that picture. Is the tribute I pay to the orthopedicians who were shot dead in Rio de Janeiro. And when I talk about drugs to my resident students, medical students, someone always said, I use only when recreational. It relaxes me at the end of the day. And I tell them, the marijuana that you used passed by through drug trafficking. And that's why they were dead, because drug traffickers were disputing that point of sale. So let's think about that. E-cigarettes are prohibited to make in the country, prohibited to import here the e-cigarettes, but you can see them sold anywhere. So Freemind in 2022, Quirino, who was responsible in the federal sphere for the drug issues, he said the following: if it weren't for the recovery clinics of drug addicts, the situation in Brazil would be much worse. And I say today, if it weren't for those who work with prevention, the situation in Brazil in relation to drugs would be much worse. Therefore, do not give up. Please choose an evidence-based technique. And short counseling is evidence-based, and not doing anything is worse. Next. Last Saturday, I was in that occupation, in that slum, in Cotia, where we have been conducting work for 2 years, only working with children on Saturday mornings. And we noticed that 25% of these children, there are 100 children, 25%, regardless of their age, they are illiterate. They cannot read properly. That boy in blue in the first square, he's taller than me. He can't read or write. And he has no cognitive issue. So when I hear about schools and everything, sometimes I think I'm in a different world, because that's the true reality. That's the actual reality. So what are we doing? We are creating a school at that slum to help them, to give support to them in schools. And that kid, in 1 month, he's reading words, and he will learn how to read because he has potential. If he left school this year because he suffers bullying at school. So if a drug dealer caresses his head, he will be in the traffic. He will be in traffic. He will be working with drug trafficking. So we must leave the comfort of our homes, because for sure our prevention work out there will work. What happens at the political sphere? What we saw yesterday, federal, state, and city levels talking, but they talk to each other very little. Say that I have 2,000 kids in Bahia. There's 1 million kids in São Paulo. You see? So we have much work to do. I'm not disregarding the political. I do not despise the political sphere. No, I work there too, but we must shift paradigms, and our work is very important. Thank you very much.
Esse é o nosso
This is our book we are launching. Alcohol, tobacco, marijuana, and e-cigarettes are pediatric drugs. We'll launch it in November. Our material is available at our website, but I also have it printed. If anyone wants, just look for me around and I'll give it, okay? Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Lotufo. Wow, a lot of learning today. Before I give the floor to Paulo Martelli, I'd like to comment with you that we, from education, we must listen to the other fields. I learned how to do short intervention with Dr. Lotufo, with a pediatrician. So through short intervention, we take 5, 2, 3 minutes with children addressing the content we are working on. We can talk about something involving alcohol and statistics. We're using Lotufo's material. I can talk about fractions and math and talk, for instance, about an issue involving cigarettes or not. I have a piece of news on the newspaper. You can take that piece of news for 5 minutes and talk to them. Okay, have you seen that news? And you discuss with that. So these frequent moments of short interventions are very powerful, and I truly recommend that. We will soon end our roundtable here. Thank you very, very much to you all for being here on stage. You brought a lot of content for us to think and act. Thank, thank you to the audience, and I'd like to say that Paulo, please come here. I'm truly more. I feel part of the Freemind family. I thank you for this invitation to be the moderator. It was a very important moment for me too. Thank you very much to you all. Well, to end, to wrap up, Jefferson, if you want to change the web link as I give the certificate, because we are broadcasting live, we are live streaming through YouTube in our channel in 3 languages, Portuguese, English, and Spanish. And each time we change the web link, the panel is uploaded to our channel. So if you want to watch again later or take to your place of work, to your family, for them to watch, you